Today, we're going to talk about the flight of SpaceX's Starship SN9 and look at some differences to SN8's flight last December. After tipping over, being rescued, having flaps replaced, and performing static fires, which damaged Raptor engines, Starship serial number 9 took off from suborbital pad B in Boca Chica, Texas. It was the fourth Starship prototype to take to the skies, intentionally anyway. Its 3 Raptor engines roared to life, and it was propelled upwards into the sky, much like its predecessor only several weeks prior. I'm just going to be quiet for a second and let you listen to that amazing sound. Now this time we didn't get the continuous triple camera view like we did with SN8, which was a bit of a shame, but the first time we get to see the engine cam, we see a fire between engines 1 and 3. It's not unusual to see flames in the engine skirt, but usually they're caused by a pocket of unburnt gases trapped in the skirt after an engine shutdown, and they tend to flare up and die down relatively quickly. We saw this with SN8's flight. However, this looked more like what we saw on SN5's hop, a concentrated fire on the engine itself, perhaps caused by some propellant shooting upwards during engine startup. A little later, we get another view, and the fire is still going. It didn't appear to cause any issues on the way up, and as far as we can see, the fire was mostly around engines 1 and 3, which performed well, but it's worth noting we did not see anything like that on SN8's flight. The engine camera has some issues, but if you look closely at the main camera video, you can see the planned shutdown of engine 3 with a little puff of flames. We saw these shutdowns with SN8. The reason they do this is because the vehicle is so empty and therefore light. The 3 Raptors are actually slowly throttled down as propellant is used up to keep the vehicle subsonic. When they reach the minimum throttle point, an engine shuts off, the others throttle back up slightly, and the process repeats. It's interesting that the first 2 shutdowns of SN8 and SN9 occurred almost the exact same second in flight. This seems like pretty consistent engine performance to me. And actually shortly after this we do hear a call out confirming good engine performance so far. In a moment, we'll see engine 2 shut down. That's the engine that failed to relight for the landing. That looked pretty energetic for a shutdown. None of the other shutdowns of SN8 or SN9 looked like that. Could this be a bad shutdown which caused the engine's failure later? We don't really know. At this point, SN9 is at its apogee of 10 kilometers, just hovering up there, burning off propellant to reduce its mass. It starts dumping the remaining methane and oxygen, and engine 1 initiates the flip and shuts down. Just look at that. Notice how fast that flip was and how far nose down Starship gets. I'll replay it side by side with SN8 for comparison. Both Starships keep the nose flaps fully extended during the flip, presumably to prevent the nose from swinging down way too fast. But on SN8's flip to the belly flop position, we can see some blast of RCS pushing the nose down, while on SN9 we only see some RCS pushing the nose sideways in the yaw axis. This makes me think that this heavily nose down position might have actually been intentional, perhaps to collect more data. In any case, SN9 successfully levels out. And not only that, but now we can actually see it slightly reversing the angle to compensate for the forward velocity it gained in the nosedive. Next, I'll show you the view from the camera mounted on Starhopper. You can actually see SN9 controlling its yaw using only the flaps when the footage is sped up like this. Next, we see the vents activating on the engine skirt, indicating engines 2 and 3 are being chilled before reigniting for landing using propellant in the header tanks. And here comes the moment when the pretty much perfect flight started to go very wrong. In quick succession, the nose flaps snap to the fully extended position, engine 3 lights, engine 2 fails, the aft flaps fold in, and the engines gimbal fully to initiate the landing flip. At this point, Starship needs to right itself and slow itself down, but it can do neither with only one engine, and it hits the ground at close to 250 kilometers per hour. Lots of people have pointed out this debris flying out from the engine skirt. To me, it doesn't look like any engine components, it looks like the thermal cladding. And also we can briefly see some flames at the top of the spluttering engine 2 there. We don't have any official word on exactly why the engine failed, but since the other engine seems to perform well the whole way down, it looks like it might have just been a fault with the engine itself, and that the fuel pressurization issue of SN8 has been mitigated for now through the use of helium. But you may be wondering, why doesn't SpaceX just light all 3 engines for the landing flip in case one has an issue? If all 3 are good, they could just cut one off and proceed as normal. Well, we have an official answer to that from Elon Musk. Not only that, but he confirmed they will be taking this approach for SN10, and if all 3 engines are good, they will shut down the leeward engine, engine 1, which normally doesn't relight for the landing. This is because the line of thrust of engines 2 and 3 is a greater distance from Starship's center of mass, so they can produce a larger torque to flip the Starship easier. SN10 is expected to fly later this month. It will be amazing to see this dynamic adjustment of the engines for the landing flip. Hopefully, we get a good feed from the engine camera to see all of that happen. If engine 1 is needed because of a failure of engine 2 or 3, we should see some incredible movement from the Raptors to compensate for the asymmetrical thrust. With this and a little luck, SN10 could be the first Starship to successfully perform the landing flip and touch down softly. If you found this video informative, please let me and YouTube know by leaving a like. Also, please consider subscribing if you'd like to see me make more videos like this in the future. Thanks for watching.